Some people talk big, others prove themselves in silence, but the most satisfying moments? When the underestimated become unstoppable. The garage smelled of motor oil and metal as Mia Torres wiped grease from her hands, staring at the expensive sports car in front of her. Another rich customer, another problem no one else could fix. A group of men stood around the car, laughing, shaking their heads. 3 of them were mechanics from another shop. The 4th, a cocky, well-dressed man in sunglasses, the car's owner. "This is a waste of time," one of the mechanics scoffed. "No one's getting this thing running today." The owner smirked, arms crossed. "I've had the best guys in the city look at it. If they couldn't fix it, what makes you think she can?" The way he said "she" made Mia's jaw tighten. She had seen it before, doubt. Men like this never took her seriously, not until it was too late. Mia exhaled, adjusting her work gloves. "You want your car fixed or not?" The owner scoffed. "Lady, if you pull this off, He paused, laughing. "I'll pay double." The other mechanics chuckled. "Big mistake." Mia didn't bother responding. She just got to work. Under the hood, she moved fast. Her hands knew engines better than most people knew their own names. The previous mechanics had missed something small but crucial. She spotted it within minutes. A faulty sensor connection. A problem so simple that every so-called expert had overlooked it. She grabbed her tools, made the adjustment, and slammed the hood shut. The whole garage went silent. Mia turned to the owner, wiping her hands on a rag. "Try it now." The man chuckled, shaking his head as he slid into the driver's seat. He turned the key. Vroom. The engine roared to life, smooth, powerful, flawless. The men around her stood frozen. The owner's jaw dropped. Mia smirked, crossing her arms. "That'll be double, thanks." The other mechanic stared at her in shock. The owner? He sat there, still gripping the steering wheel, speechless. Then, without a word, he reached into his wallet, pulled out a thick stack of cash, and handed it over. Mia counted it, nodded, and tucked it into her pocket. Then before walking away, she patted the hood of the car and smirked. "Next time, try calling a real mechanic first." And with that, she shut everyone up. Never underestimate the quiet ones. They're usually the ones who know exactly what they're doing. The stunned silence in the garage was perfect. Mia grabbed her wrench and walked toward the back of the shop, letting them all marinate in their embarrassment. But before she could leave, one of the other mechanics, the loudest one who had laughed earlier, stepped forward. "Hold on," he said, rubbing his jaw. "How the hell did you spot that so fast?" Mia smirked, leaning against the workbench. "Because I actually pay attention." The guy frowned, clearly not used to being outclassed. "Yeah, but..." Another mechanic cut in. "She's right. We all checked that damn engine for hours, and she found the problem in 5 minutes?" He turned to Mia. "How'd you do it?" Mia tossed her wrench onto the table with a clank. "Simple. You were all looking for a big problem, the kind that makes you look smart. But cars don't break down for dramatic reasons." She shrugged. "It's usually the little things." The men exchanged glances, realizing she was right. The car owner, still sitting behind the wheel, still in shock, finally snapped out of it. He stepped out, pulling off his sunglasses. "All right," he admitted, "I was wrong about you." Mia arched an eyebrow. "No kidding?" He let out a breath, shaking his head. "I've got a whole collection of cars, rare ones, and I need someone who actually knows what they're doing." Mia's eyes narrowed. "And?" He grinned. "And I want you as my personal mechanic." The other men's jaws dropped. Mia chuckled, arms crossed. "You sure? I mean, I'm just a lady, remember?" The guy winced. "Yeah, I deserved that." Mia smirked. "Damn right you did." Then, after a long pause, she extended her hand. "All right, I'll take a look at your cars." The man grinned and shook her hand. The other mechanics? They stood in stunned silence, watching as the same woman they had laughed at walked away with the biggest opportunity of the night. Mia didn't just shut them up. She won. Skill doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have an ego. It just has results. And the best part? The right people will always notice. The next morning, Mia pulled up to an insanely massive garage. She had expected a few sports cars, but what she saw inside made her whistle. Lined up in perfect rows were millions of dollars worth of rare, luxury, and classic cars. Vintage Ferraris, custom Lamborghinis, a Shelby Cobra, and in the back, a 1969 Dodge Charger in desperate need of restoration. The car's owner, Mr. I'll Pay Double, was already waiting. His name, she had learned, was Nathan Cross. Apparently, he was some big-time investor. But today, he was just a guy who had learned his lesson. "Didn't think you'd show," Nathan admitted, leaning against a Porsche. Mia smirked, tossing her wrench in the air and catching it. "Didn't think you'd be humble enough to admit you needed me." Nathan laughed. "Fair enough." He gestured toward the cars. "So, think you can handle these?" Mia walked down the row, running her fingers along the hood of a McLaren P1. The smooth metal, the scent of high-end leather and motor oil, this was her dream. She turned back to him. "Not only can I handle them," she grinned, "I can make them faster." Nathan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Faster, huh?" Mia grabbed her toolbox. "Guess you'll have to trust me." Nathan studied her for a second. Then, with a slow smirk, he tossed her a key. "All right, Torres," he said. "Show me what you've got." Mia caught the key midair. Time to work. Hours later, Mia wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stepped back from the engine she had just tuned to perfection. Nathan slid into the driver's seat of the modified Ferrari F40 and started the engine. Vero. The raw, aggressive sound rattled the garage. Nathan's eyes went wide. "No, freaking way!" Mia smirked, arms crossed. "Told you." Nathan stepped out, shaking his head in disbelief. "You just tuned one of the rarest Ferraris in the world and somehow made it sound even meaner?" Mia wiped her hands. "Not just meaner." She patted the hood. "Faster." Nathan let out a breath, staring at her with something new. Respect. "You're the real deal, aren't you?" he asked. Mia just smirked. "Took you long enough to figure that out." Nathan grinned. "All right, Torres, you're officially my head mechanic." Mia's heart stopped. Head mechanic of an entire luxury collection? She swallowed hard, but instead of showing surprise, she simply tossed her wrench in the air and caught it. "About time?" Nathan chuckled. "You're gonna fit in just fine." Mia glanced at the cars, at the insane opportunity in front of her. She had spent years being underestimated, years being laughed at. And now, she was the one driving the future. When people doubt you, let them, because the best part is watching their jaws drop when you prove them wrong. The next few weeks were like a dream. Mia wasn't just working on cars, she was transforming them. Nathan had given her full control over his collection, and she wasted no time making her mark. She rebuilt a vintage Mustang's engine from scratch. She fine-tuned a Lamborghini Aventador, making it even faster than factory specs. She even took on the 1969 Dodge Charger sitting in the back of the garage, the one that had been collecting dust for years. Nathan had laughed when she'd picked it. "That thing's a lost cause." Mia just grinned. "Give me 2 weeks." And in 2 weeks, she rolled out a Charger so clean, so powerful, that even Nathan was left speechless. One night, after finishing a long project, Nathan walked into the garage, watching as Mia wiped grease off her hands. "You know," he said, leaning against a Ferrari, "I was gonna hire some fancy mechanic from Italy for this job." Mia raised an eyebrow. "And?" Nathan smirked. "And I'm really glad I didn't." Mia chuckled, tossing a rag over her shoulder. "Yeah, well, I told you from the start. I know what I'm doing." Nathan exhaled, shaking his head. "It's more than that." He looked at the cars, then back at her. "You love this." Mia hesitated. She had spent years proving herself in a world that never gave her a fair shot. But this wasn't just a job. This was who she was. She nodded. "Yeah, I do." Nathan grinned. Then I've got another offer for you. Mia crossed her arms. Another fancy promotion? Nathan chuckled. More than that, he pulled out a key and twirled it on his finger. I want you to be my business partner. Mia's smirk disappeared. Wait, what? Nathan stepped closer. I don't just want someone working for me, Mia. I want someone working with me. He gestured toward the cars. I want to expand this collection, start an elite performance shop, something for real gearheads, custom builds, high-end restorations, something big. Mia's heart pounded. You're talking about, she exhaled, a full-blown custom garage? Nathan smirked, with you running it. Mia's hands curled into fists. She had spent her whole life fighting to be taken seriously. Now she wasn't just being hired. She was being given a legacy. She looked at Nathan, then at the cars, the future she never saw coming. Finally, she grinned. Let's build something legendary. Nathan tossed her the key. She caught it midair. And just like that, Mia Torres was no longer just a mechanic. She was about to make history. Success isn't given. It's taken, and when you finally get your shot, you take it and never look back.